Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Keller Williams Realty Technologies presentation. We're so excited to have you all with us today. Today we are covering the agenda for June 24th, so happy to have you all with us today. As always, this is an interactive call. I'd love to hear from you all. Let me know what it is that is on your mind, especially if it's not something we're covering today. All right, here's what's on our agenda. We're going to talk about the KW website rollout update. We're not going to knock you guys over the head with this too much longer because the update is just about over for this part of the United States, and we'll be working with Canada next. I'll give you some details there. I have a KW website workshop. This I do want to knock you guys over the head with. This is a really great way of plugging your agents into the KW website. I have a special guest joining me today that's going to help me describe what is happening with the new KW websites. All right, as far as the workshops go. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the KW Technology Community Resources. In fact, our special guest did mention to me, I'm having a hard time finding the resources. As you all probably saw in one of the calls, I had a hard time too. I'm going to make it easy for you. I'm going to make it easy for me. So we're excited about that. And then we're going to talk about MegaCamp Technology Community Session. All right, you all ready to go? I'm ready to go. Let me know what else you all want to hear today. Today we're going to talk about the KW website rollout update. Here's what's on the agenda. Our groups 1 through 7 have been rolled out. Our next focus is the Canadian market centers. We're working with their listing data provider. It's MLS, it's CREA. Some of those. Now, most of you should be able to log into mykw.kw.com to get to your KW website, as you see here on the screen. And then once you're there, we're going to drop down to the KW website and then click on the big red Go to my website. Can't make it any easier than that. So there's that. If you don't see the button, there's two reasons why. Okay, and every active KW agent should have a website. That doesn't mean technology coordinators who without an agent role will have it. Neither will office staff without an agent role. So if you don't see the button and you have an agent role, that means that your MLS ID and your white pages is not available. I believe the tech coordinators have access to that information, and the MCA team leader, operating partner, all have the ability to edit the agent's MLS ID on file. And then another reason might be because they don't have a KW email. Maybe they haven't requested a KW email. Now, once they do that, now that all the rollouts have been done, we are going to provide a file daily to our partner, and anyone who has recently completed these items should receive their KW website access the next business day. All right? Let me know if you guys have any questions on that. Super. As we mentioned, here are the website, the reports that are available to you. You know, it's also important for you all to know that these reports weren't available until we were in a tech call, and one of the ambassadors, not one of the ambassadors, I should say several, at the same time said, hey, we need these reports. Are they available? And Brenda and I went to our reporting team. We went to our leadership, and they got right on it because they knew the importance of having this report. So thank you all very much for doing that. Thank you for recommending it, and appreciate our team jumping right on it. All right, here's how you get to it. In MyKW reports under Web Statistics, you should see Agent MLS ID and Email Summary. I do believe we gave all tech coordinators this active role. As always, we have lots and lots of resources available for you all. All right, we have new videos on KW website resources page. We're always bringing out new videos. We have how to write your first blog post, how to enhance your blog posts with inline images, and now just recently how to promote your blog posts through social media. So you should see that one coming up here in the next few days. So take a look at those videos. We always have a lot of new stuff coming out, a lot of great resources. This question is asked often, and so hopefully I'm able to explain it in a nice graphic. It's I know it's a little loud. Had just a minute to put this together, but here's what it looks like. If an agent is in Market Center A and they're in MLS1 and or they're an MLS2. In other words, if they're an MLS1 and or they're an MLS2, they don't have to be a part of both. They get one KW website. If an agent is in Market Center A and is in MLS1, they get one KW website. If they're also in Market Center B, they get an additional KW website. So here's how it works. Right now, when a KW agent is in their website, they can choose which MLS to display. It's through the administration. So they're going to be able to say, use this MLS or use this MLS. So they do have the option for both. We are looking at additional solutions, solutions that might fit the purpose a little bit better, but for now, this is the solution that's available. So please let your agents that are in multiple market centers know what is happening. And as always, if you guys have questions, you want to submit those to 512-306-7191. Just hit option 4. That will take you to our support team. That's support-kw@playster.com. Or you can always, as I mentioned, you can always email them directly. All right, let's look at the KW website workshop. So I have a special guest joining us on the call. I'm going to ask Mr. Robert Greenwood to pop up on the call. Robert, are you available?
I am here.
Hello, Robert. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing all right.
Excellent. Say hello to everyone. Everyone, say hello to Robert. He is here to talk about the KW website workshop. This is a workshop that he has been promoting and has been working on improving. And he has brought some of those lessons learned, some of the mistakes, and some of the things that he's done right. So let's thank him and appreciate the fact that he's putting himself out there, telling us what he's done right and, of course, what he's done wrong. Welcome, Robert. I'm going to go ahead and flip through the slides, but tell us a little bit about yourself while I have this slide up. I apologize. I don't have a picture of you, so I'm going to scramble for one of those really quick, all right?
That is all right. I'm Robert Greenstreet. I am in Pensacola, Florida. I've been here since about August of last year, 2015, and I came on with the Market Center here at the end of September as the technology coordinator slash DOFI slash assistant to the TL in recruiting slash assistant MCA. So I've got a lot of roles. And one of my favorite things is just teaching the technology to the new agents. And so I was really excited when I heard about the new sites, and when they finally did come out, I'm like, yes, I can finally teach these. And I just wanted to go over some of the things I've learned in the 5 times now that I've done the workshop. And so we'll just go ahead and get started. Kevin, if you'll advance that slide.
It's coming, Robert. Just takes just a minute. Let's see if it'll come up now.
There we go.
There we go. Yep.
So like I mentioned, I've had the workshop 5 times in the last 3-ish weeks, and I really appreciate the materials, especially the maps for the attendees, where it's showing them exactly what everything is on both the site list page and once you're inside the settings. It's a great review tool for them. That way they're not calling me every 5 seconds asking me, what is this? And then the sort of homework they've got there to get their social media links and everything, that just helps them actually have something to do in the workshop, and it also helps them to know, where they are online, and that's just good for them to know anyway. And then my favorite thing about the materials is actually the instructor materials, because it helps me remember everything, because even though I know kind of everything in my head that I need to show them, I may not remember it at the moment that I'm supposed to tell them about it. So just following that helps keep me organized there. And paper just has a better memory than I do. It shows exactly what is on the paper. And then where was I going? And then just having the materials for them to review, the print ones, as well as just my recording of the class, which I'll get to in a little bit. I found out the first workshop that it's very, very, very important to make sure you have enough bandwidth for everybody that's going to be in the class. We did have pretty much the full 20 in the class, plus there were about 10 or 15 more people in the building who were working, and they were all online as well. And it slowed to a crawl at our 25 download, 5 upload speed. So that day I called our service representative for our internet provider, and he says, yeah, with that many people in the building, 100 down is the minimum I would recommend. So if you're not somewhere around there, you might want to look into that if you haven't had the class yet. Otherwise, it just turns into you showing them the back end of your site, and they can't really follow along because there's just not the bandwidth there for them to share. It gets split more for the more people that are on the network, and every time it's split, it's a much smaller and smaller piece.
So Robert, let me ask you this. So we're getting a little technical, the 100 megabytes down, 20 megabytes up. So would you say that you should have a dedicated wireless router separate from the rest of the class that has this capacity? Do you get an expert in? Give me a little cost idea. Tell me a little bit about getting that set up.
So I used our existing wireless router. We've got one router for the building, and I'm actually thinking about getting another one, but it worked okay so far. Where the issue was actually the overall speed that was coming into the building. I didn't really have to bring anybody in. I just called our provider and told him, okay, we need approximately this many people on the network, and he says, okay, this is what I recommend for that. And it was only about another $60 a month for the market center. It really wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
So if I hear you correctly, they're bringing in more bandwidth so that it can be utilized through the systems. You don't have to necessarily purchase any hardware in order to do that. They can push that in through your existing lines. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, have you ever had anybody bring in their own hotspots? Do you ask agents to do that as well?
There were a couple of people in that first class who had their hotspots. I couldn't tell you really about their performance. I didn't really see any of them following along with me. And I really wouldn't recommend doing that unless they've got like unlimited data, that kind of thing, because you can really easily get into overages. So I really don't know what their speeds were inside the building or anything like that. I was just focused on the half disaster that was our internet speed.
Understood. Understood. Yeah, and I have had a couple. I have had a couple people comment that they have people bring their own hotspots. So if I hear you correctly, it's not something that you're going to recommend or to ask that they do prior. But if they have it, then they're welcome to use it. Is that right?
Correct.
Great. All right. Let's move on.
Alrighty. So as far as the IDX agreements, the MLS feeds, we're kind of in a strange situation. I don't know. I know a lot of places have multiple MLSs that serve kind of overlapping areas. We've got 3 in our area, and some of our agents are members of 2 or 3 of them. And we know that Placer doesn't yet have the capability of supporting more than 1 MLS per site, and that's fine. But what we do need to know is what the requirements are for the MLS, the primary MLS that the agent wants to use on their site. Like we've got one, our primary MLS in our area requires a separate IDX agreement per agent. And so I have to fill that out, send that to the agent to be signed, and then send that to Placer for them to get to the board, and then they end up following up with the agent and letting them know that it's available on their site. So you really want to be up on what your particular MLS requires. As far as what kind of paperwork, who needs to sign it. Like we had to have our agent sign it and our broker sign it, and then I need to send it back to Placer rather than directly to the board, and just it's a little bit convoluted sometimes, and I've just made sure to get a system in place for that. And I've got the tip there that says I use the sign-in sheet from the class. I put a checkbox on each side of each attendee, and excuse me. And so I check the left box when I've sent it to them to sign, and then I check the other box when I've sent it to Placer for them to send off to the board.
Okay, and I can understand why you'd want to handle a lot of this ahead of time. Can you imagine how frustrating it would be to a participant? They go into the class, are ready to go, and one of the most important piece of the website they just simply can't set up because they're missing the paperwork.
That's correct. Yeah, and I have required pre-registration for my classes, so I know who's coming ahead of time, so I can get that to them. And I've found, if you guys don't know this yet, that their web address for these new sites is basically going to be their KW email with the @ symbol taken out and a dot put in. That's the address, and that's what would go on your IDX agreements.
And that's something that's you guys can take the power of the KW domain name. If you are using your first name dot last name at kw.com, first of all, you're branding yourself every time you send out an email, and now you have that same exact brand opportunity in your subdomain. Of course, we're always going to recommend you go purchase yourself a custom domain, but at the very least, just getting started. How powerful is that? That's great. All right, let's move on.
After my first class had so much trouble because of the bandwidth, I learned to pre-open everything that I was going to need for the class before the class started. It saves time in the general slowdown, even if you do have adequate speed for everybody. With that many people on the network, it is going to slow down a little, so I've just got those open already. I don't have to wait for them to open. I don't have to go type the addresses. I can just click on the different tabs and show them, this is this example, this is this example. And the same goes for any additional videos or resources you might need to pull up onto the screen. Just have those open before you get started. And then I have the sign-in sheet right in the middle of the class. I've got a pen there so they don't have to bring their own pen. Most agents don't even think about signing in because they're just there to learn, and they don't understand that we're trying to track the training and we need to know who was there for the paperwork and that kind of thing. So I just make it easy for them so they don't really have to think about it. And then for myself, I definitely bring water and a snack because I know my stomach will start growling about halfway through the class and I just don't need to leave the room. So I just bring that with me.
So I thought the water and snack was for the attendees if they started getting hangry, but it's really the instructor. I guess it's a matter of whoever's training.
That's true. Yeah, that's actually a good idea. I hadn't thought of that.
I do have a suggestion on the sign-in sheet, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
So since we have the Google applications, we have a great opportunity to create a Google form. If you create a Google form and have them sign in electronically, then the Google form will provide you with a nice clean CSV file that we could then upload into our eEdge system, creating a group. What I like about it as well is I don't have to try to figure out whose handwriting is what and if it's at yahoo.com or something else. So that's just a little tip that I have.
That's a great idea.
All right, let's continue on. What do we got here? I liked what you said because this is totally true.
Yep. So none of my workshops have taken the full 3 hours, and I sort of see that as a failing on my part. I definitely want to save my time, and I want to save the agent's time who's in the class, but I think I do them a disservice if I move so quickly that they don't absorb what I'm teaching. That's why in the subsequent classes I've had one of the attendees log in on my computer on the second big screen on the wall so that I can show the agents what a blank site looks like and work at their pace to fill it out. And it's also beneficial for my guinea pig because I know some tricks on like copying and pasting things and some of the information for the market center and stuff that can go in there really quickly that they don't have to look up. And then I'm also kind of guilty myself of getting exasperated by questions, especially ones that I've already answered or will be answering in the next couple of minutes if they had just kept silent. And what I try to tell myself is just they have no way of knowing everything that I know. It's impossible for them to know everything that I know or for me to know everything that they know. So that just kind of helps me keep some patience in answering questions.
Great point. And we'll have some other training tips and some additional webinars. I'd love to get any opinions from our trainers as well because that is a really hard thing to deal with, especially when you know they weren't listening because they were talking or they were doing instead of watching. And so it can become a bit frustrating. However, I'm confident that most of our trainers have found ways of getting through that. All right, so that's great. Thank you very much. That's really good.
Yes, sir.
All right, and then lastly, this is kind of what we were talking about, using Google Forms and other Google tools. What do you have?
Yeah. So when it comes to KW technology, I could do a lot of it in my sleep. But the reason that people are attending my workshops is because they're kind of in the opposite situation. They need to learn how to do it. So it's important that they make sure to know where to look for answers after the workshop. I sent an email to everybody afterwards with links to the KWU Connect materials, to my YouTube channel where I've recorded the class. You can send a Google Drive link where you have your syllabus for the class that you typed up, and anytime you update it, they have the updated version because it's online, automatic in Google Drive. And then I have a small but very kind of huge plug. If you're not using Google Hangouts on air to record your classes, either via a webcam or you can just do screen sharing as long as you've got a microphone for them to hear you, you're kind of missing out. It's free, it's already tied to your kw.com email, and the recordings are in 720p HD, and they're automatically on your YouTube account for posterity. I use it to record all of my classes.
Beautiful. All right. Okay, so we had a couple questions come in, a couple comments. People are asking. So let's share some of that. Oh, are you all? Have you had people provide working lunch at all in any of your workshops? Diane said that they get people in by having a lender or title provide lunch. Everybody will come to lunch.
I have not tried that. Most of my classes have been either first thing in the morning or after lunch,
Okay.
starting at 1-ish.
Yeah.
So that's something I could try.
Yeah, coffee and biscuits always works really good. All right. And David says he's seen that actually breaking the class into a setup and an advanced class seems to allow them to process a little better. So that sounds interesting, David. Let us know how that's working out. Tell us a little bit more about that, David, at the ambassadors at kw.com. Love to hear more. Maybe we could have you on a call. So Krista is asking, what's the best way to broadcast the class to live to non-attendees, like a Periscope, or what do you think? It maybe GoToWebinar, the
Well, that's
free
what I was talking
version.
about with Google Hangouts on there. It is
Yeah,
a
Google
webcasting
Hangouts.
service,
That's
and
the
it just happens to record it at the same time.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Love it. All right. And I was trying to get to you, Miss Adrian, but I can't get to you. So I've checked on your issue with the Choose MLS. Please contact Playster support on that question. And any of the other MLS Playster support questions, I just simply don't have the answers to. We could check with our support team. However, if you eliminate the middleman, let's go to them straight, directly, and let's see if they can get those questions answered for you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's give Robert a big hand. Robert, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
I just sent you the address for the Google Hangouts on air. If you wanted to share that with everybody, it's part of Google Plus.
Excellent. And you sent that through the chat?
I did.
Okay, very good. All right. All right, and Ben, I was just seeing if there was anything else that the support team needed to add. Just pop that in the chat module if necessary. If not, no worries. All right, I believe I shared that with everybody. Everybody should have. Nope, I did. Let me share that with everybody. I just shared it with Ben. All right. Well, now Ben, you've got that. That's good. Let's try that one more time. There we go. Everybody has that now. Awesome. RJ is asking a great question. RJ's question, get this question, Robert. He's saying, hey, I work different jobs on Fridays and often can't attend these. Are these recorded or shared? And that was a question that Robert was asking me that caused me to hit you all with this next subject matter. But before I do that, thank you again, Robert. That's great information. I appreciate not only you taking the time to let us know what's going on, but taking the time to share with your agents your expertise and helping them to maximize one of the most powerful marketing tools that we have given them, and that is the new KW website. We really appreciate it.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right. Okay, so let's talk about your KW Technology resources. Super easy to find. There's a few ways we can get to it, but I'm going to get you all there the easiest way. You're going to click on My Market Center Intranet. It's the same way that we get into our KW Technology Community Resources, and that's by clicking on this My Market Center Intranet. So you'll start there, and then once you've done that, then you're going to be taken to your Market Center intranet. Now, when you're in here, you have the option to click this Change button. When you click Change, you have these three choices. I'm going to ask you to choose Technology Ambassadors, okay? Once we choose Technology Ambassadors, then we're taken to this option where we're going to click on Tools. This is Tools right here. We're going to click on Tools. Once we click on Tools, that's going to take us to our Document section. And this is our Documents. Once we're in Documents, you'll notice that we have all of these options here, including the Trainer Toolbox, which you'll see a lot of additional options in here. This is all of our onboarding stuff. You can find everything regarding KW technology, as well as the latest ambassador calls and all of the PowerPoint presentations to any of our past training. This is all exclusive to our ambassadors. Okay, hopefully you all are going to join us for the MegaCamp session for our KW Technology community members. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be one unlike ever before, and I know we always say that, but it truly is. We are in a really incredible time, a time of change, and a time of fostering our ambassador program. So we're going to ask you all to please join us for this session if you can. And I also want you to start thinking about what you all feel the ambassador program is. In other words, what would our group be called? You know, we call ourselves technology ambassadors or technology community, but in reality, we're helping people build their business, and we're helping them build their business through the tools that Keller Williams provide. And it's, you know, it's not always through technology. A lot of it, honestly, is about education. So I want you all to start thinking about what you all feel like a good name that would best represent what you all do, how you do it, and the way that you get these things accomplished. So I'd like for y'all to start throwing around some ideas. Send them to ambassadors@kw.com. Anything that you think the ambassador program should be or should develop to, we're open for that too. This is we're opening up this discussion, and I'd love to hear from you guys. And I'm sure Brenda will have a lot more for you the next week. But for now, let's talk about the MC Tech Ambassador Session, is what we're calling it at this time. That's Thursday, August 11th. Please join us for that. And there's our question there. And here's what's on our agenda for this week.